But the judge who presides over it should be a judge who does not have a conflict of interest. So let's go through all the problems with the warrant. First, it wasn't the least intrusive means, so it violated FBI ethical and professional rules to ever request it in the first place. Second, due to the political sensitivity, it didn't rise to the levels of exigent necessity, nor did they gone through the intermediary steps of either a suit or a subpoena to try to obtain the records or information that could be either professionally compliant with their duties and obligations under their own rules of conduct, or the politically sensitive target issue rules that specifically apply in the Justice Department when they request these in the first place. Then you have the problem that you have a clear conflict of interest with high-ranking FBI officers involved in the search warrant process who are under criminal investigation or could be because of their involvement in Russiagate, Spygate, and Ukrainegate, the various conspiracies against President Trump, as Paul Sperry has documented and detailed. And when he simply put this up at Twitter immediately suspended permanently his account, which tells you he was right over the target. So Garland shouldn't have participated either because of the obvious political conflict of interest, which is compounded by Garland's personal history. Garland himself would have been on the Supreme Court, but for Donald Trump winning the 2016 election. Then you have Garland being the political appointee of the Biden administration, going after the lead opponent of the Biden administration to replace the Biden administration. So, this all screamed for complete independent counsel involvement that has no political contamination. Remember, this was the pretext for the appointment of Robert Mueller. Note, it was not done here at all at any level, just as it has not been done in the Hunter Biden-related scandals and investigations. So you have it didn't meet professional standards for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It didn't meet the ethical requirements for politically sensitive and conflicts of interest targets for the Justice Department. Then they request it from a magistrate, and you can go shopping with these warrants. They do it all the time. They wait to see who's on duty and only submit the warrant when they know the magistrate on duty is a judge who's compliant.
Having duty overload, Robert. Explain the judge shopping, because these judges are the magistrates are on what, 2-week circuits, 1-week circuits, if it's anything like...
It varies by court. Sometimes it varies by day. So people were curious when they found out the warrant didn't require immediate execution. That's because they were waiting for the right judge, because normally a normal judge would say, hold on a second, you're asking me to sign a warrant on the former president of the United States? You're asking me to sign a warrant on the leading opponent of the incumbent administration? Something neither of which has ever happened in American legal history. I want to make sure you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's. A lot of judges would have stricken large parts of this warrant because they can revise how the warrant is written. A lot of judges would have said no, whoa, no. So what they did is they waited, shopped until a particular magistrate came in. And this magistrate was really unique. Two things that are unique about this particular magistrate, who the judges are saying it's so horrible and awful that people are saying bad things about him for doing his job. He didn't do his job. The judiciary continues to fall and fail to do their job. They need to look in the mirror for the criticism, not look at the public who's rightly and righteously critical of their failure to perform their constitutional duty. This judge disobeyed the oath he took and disrespected the robes he wears. What this judge is a politically corrupt hack who should have never been appointed to a magistrate's position. So the first part is, how do these magistrates work? Federal judges get to delegate their duties, in part, to these magistrates who never go through the approval process. The judges themselves get to select them. I've never liked magistrates. I don't think there's any role for them in the constitutional system. Federal judges need to get off their rear and do their job and quit delegating it to magistrates. So that's problem one I have with all this. So that's how he exists in the first place. But it shows you how bad our system of judicial magistrate appointments are that this guy ever got appointed. So this guy was in the Justice Department when Jeffrey Epstein was first being criminally investigated and his extraordinary scandalous behavior getting exposed. And first you have the U.S. Attorney's Office intervene and interrupt the state prosecution and investigation that was being considered. That's one level. The second is, while he's at the Justice Department, he gets inside information about the Epstein case. He resigns and goes to work for Epstein. which shouldn't have happened in the first place. He should have disqualified himself from any. He was automatically, in my view, disqualified from representing anybody that had been under criminal investigation at the Justice Department while he was there. So he flips over, helps cover up all of Epstein's scandals. Many people for years have accused him of using his inside information and inside connections to help facilitate. Maybe the main person that helped facilitate. A lot of other people took the blame. He may be the main person, this now magistrate judge, that helped cover up Epstein's massive crimes and scandals. Somehow, from that background, he gets appointed to magistrate. Now, in the interim, he defended Lois Lerner, who destroyed documents while she was as IRS commissioner, was an open and overt contempt of Congress for which she never faced any criminal prosecution and punishment. And what was she doing? Because it kind of relates to the 87,000 IRS agents coming next year that is just about to be passed into law by Biden. What she was doing was politically weaponizing the powers of the Internal Revenue Service to target political dissident groups. This included Tea Party groups. This included so-called tax protester groups. And this was at the same time that the IRS was using its Obamacare enforcement authority to seize the private medical records of millions of Americans. I exposed that in part when I brought the biggest Bivens class action in the history of the country against the IRS, because they had stolen from 60 million medical records of 10 million Americans, including almost every judge in the state of California, including their family records, which family members are, which judge or family members seeking divorce treatment, sexual addiction treatment, drug addiction treatment, alcoholism treatment, most movie producers, most screen actors, most Major League Baseball players, all their records had been illegally seized and stolen. I called it J. Edgar Hoover's wet dream of a extortion blackmail file. She was the commissioner during that tenure as well. Because of the Bivens suit, they had to pull back from doing that, but that gives a mindset of who this guy ends up being connected to. So after that, he gets to become magistrate because of the judges, not because of Trump.
Just pause right there for 1 second. Difference between a magistrate and a judge for those who don't know?
So again, magistrates are just appointed by the judges. They're not themselves. They don't go through the Senate process, the presidential confirmation process. Okay. So but they have been given by the judges authority to issue search warrants, which I think is a huge problem. It was not the constitutional intention. But he gets appointed as magistrate. Trump has filed a major RICO suit against Hillary Clinton, a bunch of members of the FBI, etc., which magically this judge gets assigned to. This judge, just a week or two before he signs the warrant, there's multiple motions to disqualify him, to recuse him by Trump's team because of his extraordinary conflicts of interest connected to the Clintons, connected to other defendants in the case. He finally belatedly acknowledges this and recuses himself from the case. Just a month or month and a half or so, 4 to 5 weeks, 6 weeks before they go shopping to him for the search warrant.
This is
rather than recuse himself, which is what he should have done. He's already recused himself from these kind of matters involving Trump. Here he's signing an unprecedented warrant of extraordinary scope against Trump, and does no meaningful restrictions or limitations on it, just acts like a rubber stamp. I've often said a lot of federal magistrates, the feds could blow a leaf across their desk and they'd sign it. They are a disgrace to the rule of law in America and constitutional rights in America. They do not meaningfully play the gatekeeping role they are constitutionally obligated under their oath to do. So this guy should have recused himself. Instead, he just signs everything that's there. Now let's talk about the warrant itself.
Well, hold on. Before you even get there, Robert, one question. Ordinarily, you get a magistrate with ethics. Would a magistrate not say, kick this up to a judge, or would a judge never actually sign off on this warrant in the first place?
A good magistrate, what a good magistrate would have done is that recognized the conflict, would have immediately recused and done nothing, and then let it go to the next magistrate. But a good magistrate would have said this case has to go to get a district judge's approval. Absolutely. Given the nature of what said, hold on a second, this is not something. But they knew this magistrate was corrupt enough